So friends, ever since the trailer for Avengers, Doomsday was released, the one question on everyone's mind is how Steve Rogers returned in this film. Because at the end of Endgame, we saw him grow old and retire. That's why some people are thinking that this Steve isn't the real one, but rather an imposter. But if he's an imposter, then how did he lift Mjolnir here? This is a huge confusion. That's why today I'll talk about all the possibilities and fan theories regarding Steve Rogers' return in Avengers, Doomsday. So let's get started. In Avengers, Doomsday, everyone was thinking about the return of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, that they were brought back only for fan service. Because for the last few years, the MCU's movies and TV shows haven't been performing well. And this fan service theory is true as well. But still, the audience swallowed RDJ's casting music because he's playing a completely different role. But Chris Evans' case is a little different. Because in Avengers, Endgame, he was given a pretty good farewell, and we were told that Chris Evans would not appear in this role again. But still, Steve Rogers' return was shown right in the first teaser of Doomsday. This made some people start thinking that he's being forcefully inserted into this film, and that it will ruin Endgame's retirement. However, many people still believe that Marvel Studios will definitely provide a good reason for bringing Steve Rogers back. But there are also some people who are thinking that this guy isn't the original Steve Rogers, but rather his variant or some imposter. So let's discuss all the fan theories one by one. First of all, let's assume that this Steve Rogers shown in the teaser and trailer is indeed the real Captain America from the main MCU timeline. But he had grown old at the end of Endgame. So how is he looking young here? The reason for this comes from Doomsday's first teaser. There, Steve's past timeline was shown. The one where he had traveled back in time and stayed back with Peggy Carter. So if we follow very simple logic, this Steve in Doomsday has come here from the past timeline instead of the present, and he did this using Tony Stark's time machine, which Steve had until the end of Endgame and through which he went and stayed in the past. Then the next question comes. Why did Steve leave his time and come to the future? The reason could be an incursion, or Dr. Doom's meddling with the multiverse, which may have had a bad effect on Steve's past timeline and endangered his family. That's why Steve had to leave his retirement and jump back into this mess. The next theory is that this Steve Rogers is not the Captain America of the main timeline. Rather, he is a variant of Steve from an alternate universe, who is worthy just like our Captain. That's why he was able to lift Mjolnir. But then the question arises. How and why did this variant Steve come to the main MCU? The reason could be Loki, who has now become the god of the multiverse and has knowledge of every universe. So perhaps Loki already saw the threat of Dr. Doom, and he knows that the Avengers are working to solve this problem. But currently they don't have a good leader. So it's possible that to help the Avengers, Loki picked up a Steve from another universe and dropped him into the main universe, someone who is as noble and brave as our original Captain. That's why he was able to lift Mjolnir. And because this Steve isn't from this timeline, his look is slightly different, with longer hair and a beard. Now, if we talk about the next theory, according to it, this Steve Rogers is actually Captain Hydra, which is an evil version of Captain America. In the comics, a powerful cosmic being named Kobik changed reality. Because of this, Steve Rogers' entire life changed, and instead of being loyal to America, he became loyal to Hydra. In that reality, the evil captain could also lift Mjolnir. That's why some people believe that something similar could happen in Doomsday. Kobik might not be in the MCU, but here perhaps Dr. Doom has the power to change reality, with which he altered Steve Rogers' history and turned him into an evil Captain America so that he can learn the Avengers' plan and ruin it. In this new trailer, Steve's style and smile seem quite strange. This is making fans suspicious that he isn't the real Steve Rogers, but an evil variant. And as for Mjolnir, it could be that Doctor Doom, with his power, also changed the enchantment on the hammer. That's why this evil Steve is able to lift Thor's hammer here. And if we talk about the last theory, it's the most interesting one. According to it, this Steve Rogers is neither real nor a variant, but rather someone else in the form of Steve. And we all know very well who has the power to change form. Music, it's Loki. And this isn't the old mischievous Loki, but the god Loki shown in the Loki series. So according to the theory, Loki can now see the entire multiverse, and he has also seen the fight between Doctor Doom and the Avengers, in which he wants to get involved himself and help the Avengers. But Loki knows that his image is such that no one will trust him. That's why he took the form of a man whom everyone trusts blindly, and that is Steve Rogers. And now Loki can hide this lie very well just by lifting Mjolnir, because now he's completely changed compared to before, and he has become worthy of lifting this hammer. So now no one here will suspect that this Steve is someone else. Another reason for Loki to change his form could be that he doesn't want to make Thor emotional. At the beginning of Infinity War, Thanos killed Loki, which caused Thor a lot of pain. After that, Thanos killed half the universe's population, which made Thor go into depression and he became fat. And now, if Thor sees Loki alive again, he might get lost in his old memories and become mentally unstable, which would be very bad for the Avengers. That's why, to avoid this situation, maybe Loki has taken Steve's form. And if this theory turns out to be true, we'll only find out this secret at the end of the movie. This way, the closure given to Captain America in Endgame won't be wasted, and the fans will also get to see the return of their favorite superhero, even if there's someone else in the background. So friends, clear as throat, these were some fan theories about Steve Rogers' return in Avengers: Doomsday. If you like this video, then please like and share it. And to watch more such interesting videos, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you receive our videos at the right time.